Well, the United States midterms will be held next week, and it will give us a real glimpse as to how the Biden administration has been faring in the public eye over the last 2 years. Now, it's commonplace for the incumbent government to lose some seats during the midterms, but the feeling in the air is that the Republicans are positioned to regain control of the House of Reps and possibly even the Senate. Now, the Democrats have been campaigning heavily on abortion rights following the Supreme Court's reversal of Roe versus Wade, but polling says the biggest thing on the minds of Americans is cost of living and inflation. Joining me now from Pennsylvania, where Donald Trump has been out campaigning, is Sky News US correspondent Annelise Nielsen. Annelise, thank you so much for your time. You've just been at a Trump rally. He's looking rather fit and ready to fire.
Rather enthusiastic. I've been to quite a few Trump rallies over the last 2 years, and I have to say there is a spring in his step. He spoke for almost 2 hours. Now, we've just been kicked out of the location where they're packing up. We're dealing with some wind here too, but this was a pretty extraordinary day in that not only did we have Donald Trump here in Pennsylvania, we had Barack Obama joining Joe Biden. So 3 US presidents out campaigning. Any better indicator doesn't exist of just how important Pennsylvania is for this election, because while most of the polling has Congress going at least at a House level back to the Republicans, the Senate is still up in the air, and there's a few key races that are going to be important for that. Georgia is important, although it's looking better and better for the Democrats there, which makes this state of Pennsylvania all the more important to try for either side to get just over that 50%.
Now, we've heard over the weekend that November 14, we could hear from Trump launching his chase for the presidency once again in 2024. Did he hint anything in that direction whilst he was on stage today?
He hinted a few times, one of which was during his normal jibing of the media. He loves to get the crowd to turn around and jeer at the media, saying that we're fake news, that it's all the worst part of American society, are the journalists on the rises. But in that, he made that comment about how, you're only here just to see if I'm going to announce if I'm going to win. Again, towards the end, he then actually circled back to this again and said, I'm going to announce very soon. You'll be shocked just how soon I announce it. And he really did seem quite enthusiastic. Just the atmosphere was quite different. It was well organised rally. There were more people there than you've seen in a lot of rallies, or I've personally seen as part of the organisation of it. And just logically, it does make sense. Everyone's holding off until midterms are over, and there does seem to be a number of investigations into Donald Trump that could move forward into charges. The minute he announces he's running, it becomes that much harder to pursue him. It becomes politically motivated. There's certain protections, and then campaign financing rules change as well. So there is impetus there. There's also an advantage if that's what he chooses to. And he gets to keep the conversation about him. We're still talking about him. He's still wielding this influence. And if Republicans do well, he's able to say, it's because of my influence that they've done this well. You guys need me.
What do you read into the fact that Barack Obama seems to be doing a lot of running, standing very close to Joe Biden? Is he trying to prop him up? What's your interpretation of his appearance again?
Look, they need Barack Obama because he's quite popular, and Joe Biden's not polling very well. He's having issues on the ground, and it's because of things like cost of living, but also the gaffes, the issues he's having at events. We haven't seen a lot of him, and he's required to do it more now, and so we're seeing more, and then there's more of these issues coming to light. So as much as it is a political scoring point for the Republicans every time he misspeaks or seems to forget something, it's also quite obvious to the general public. And from the Democrats' perspective, Joe Biden's still saying he's going to run, and it doesn't seem to be just that he's trying to hold off discussion of who would run next. He seems to genuinely want to run again. There's been a few stories placed in the media that seem quite advantageous if he were to do that. Interviews with Jill Biden, Al Sharpton saying that he's planning on running again. Whether that's to smoke out his competitors or what, we know it's an awfully competitive game in Washington, D.C., but it does seem like he does want to run again. The rest of the Democrats would be saying we need to find a new contender for 2024. And potentially that could be Stacey Abrams, who's on the ballot in Georgia at the moment. She's not polling as well as she might have hoped, and that could be an issue. She hasn't done well before, but these are the conversations that are all going to start happening after midterms are over.
Explain to me one thing. Why are the Democrats running so hard on this Roe versus Wade issue? Because I saw some polling that suggested only 14% of those surveyed believed that it was a big issue.
Well, I'm not sure about that particular survey. For the Democrats, they don't have a lot else to campaign on. They don't have a lot of other good stories to tell that people understand at a grassroots level. But it has changed the game on the ground, because what it does do is incentivise voters to turn out in places where they haven't been doing well. It incentivises women to turn out, suburban women. They're the more fickle voters that can go either way. They decide votes in places like Georgia, in places like Pennsylvania, outside Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Those are the suburban areas where they can make up ground, unlike the inner city, which is very blue, and the outer suburbs, which are all very red. And then we've seen a few legislative tests of Roe versus Wade that has had huge turnout. Look at Kansas, where it was in the ballot during their primaries to try and make a legislative change, a constitutional change at a state level. They had turnout unlike anything we've seen for primaries for a generation. And that was people turning out to vote because they were upset about change to access to termination. So it's definitely a winning topic among many Americans. You can't deny that it's going to be influential among key voters. And I guess in summary, the Democrats can't campaign on the economy. Joe Biden's not as appealing as he could be, so they need to focus on it.
Yeah, let the games begin. Annelise Nielsen, thank you very much.
Thank you.